yesterday's blaze at a central Auckland supermarket has exposed issues for fire officers that were problematic 6 years ago during the Sky City Convention Centre fire. Flames tore through Victoria Park's New World at around midday, and for hours it was too dangerous for crews to tackle it from the inside. The Professional Firefighters Union says of the heavy aerial appliances available, a key tool in large-scale fires, only one was in Auckland. The next was more than 100 kilometres away in Hamilton. Union local representative Josh Nichols is with us now. Josh, thank you so much for your time this morning. When you're talking about these, this specific piece of equipment, what is it? What does it do? Why is it so important?
Okay, first I just want to go back a track. I think what I'd like to do is acknowledge our members from our firecom staff that get our trucks deployed to respond to these incidents, to our members yesterday that were operating on this incident ground. You know, these are very arduous, very testing and extreme conditions. You know, these men and women come to work every day with a passion and intent and a drive to serve the communities of New Zealand and Auckland. And I think what I want to say here is that, you know, they're not being let down by effort. They're being let down by equipment, strategy and support. So these heavy aerial trucks, obviously they give us a tactical advantage to be able to come in over the top of the fire. They give us an advantage for means of egress to either get crews in key positions or get them out of key positions if things were to subsequently change, right? Having one tool in the toolbox is very linear for us. It doesn't allow us the flexibility to be able to, you know, cater to a very dynamic and fast-changing environment.
Okay, so what happened yesterday then at the New World fire? Was that equipment available?
So yesterday, we had one heavy aerial. We had two smaller aerials or ladder trucks as such. They have limited capacity and capability for us, all right? The larger ones give us more optimal reach, bigger pumping capacity for water and the likes, yeah? I think what we want to acknowledge here is that, you know, in 2019 in the ICC fire, you know, we had one heavy aerial available in Auckland then, some 6 years ago. We had to put it, you know, we had to put one back together then. You know, here we are 6 years later doing the same chain of events, yet calling on an aerial appliance from Hamilton, putting it back on putting it back together to get it on the run, to get it up here to come and serve and support it.
Well, what is the implication of that then? You know, having to wait for those the smaller ones down in Hamilton, or was that the one big one?
Was coming from
so
Hamilton.
that had to come from Hamilton. So that's time.
Yeah, it's time.
So what are the implications of that then?
Well, there's a lot of implications. I think first and foremost, you know, that's put a lot of undue stress on the Hamilton crews having to go and get that truck and put it back on the run. And kudos to the service provider for being able to do that for us in a timely manner. You know, the other implications for us is we're having to wait. You know, one aerial appliance, you know, puts a lot of or extreme pressure on our officers in charge of these incidents to be able to make command or tactical decisions, but only having one or very few tools in the toolbox.
What if then, because we had the fire here, if there was another fire, what would that mean?
Well, funnily enough, there was another fire out in East Tamaki yesterday. I mean, not funnily enough, but subsequently there was. And if you don't have the tools in the toolbox, then you don't have the ability to be able to use those in your command or tactical decisions that you're having to make.
Right.
It leaves you, you know, wanting for better. You know, I think what we've got to understand here is that. We need to acknowledge that FENZ has procured new aerials. They're due to arrive in December this year, tentatively. That's great, and that will replace the ageing fleet that we currently have in service. That doesn't give us any enhancements in capability. It just replaces what we've got. We've got no fat in the system. It doesn't replace our relief appliances. I mean, at the moment, the reason we're down to one is we've got a relief appliance that's 27 years old. It's currently out of commission with rust. It's 17 years overdue a rebuild. These are the complexities that we are facing.
How is it possible that Auckland, our biggest city, doesn't have one of these things available?
Well, it's got one. It just doesn't have any fat in the system, and it's a great question. You know, you know, we're a city of 1.6 million people. You know, rapidly evolving. You know, our population has increased, and funnily enough, if you go back to the 1980s, you know, we had 6 of these appliances in our arsenal ready to use. You know, here we are sometime more, and we're down to one.
We went to FENZ, Fire Emergency New Zealand, to get a response from them, and this was sent to us from Ken Cooper, who is the Acting Deputy Chief Executive, Service Delivery Operations at FENZ. He says Fire and Emergency sent 3 aerial appliances from Auckland to the fire at the Victoria Park New World yesterday. Dispatched 1 aerial from Hamilton as backup, but if it was not needed, for firefighting. What's your response? to
Look,
that?
I think you only have to listen to it, the rhetoric here, to go that we're pulling an aerial appliance from our fourth largest city into our biggest city. It doesn't make sense, right? That leaves Hamilton exposed, and that puts pressure on our firefighters down there, where we're taking their tools away from their town, and that has impacts and ramifications on the command decisions or tactical decisions that they have to make, right? I think the big thing here is that you know, we had an independent review in 2019 post the ICC fire. We had OFIs or opportunities for improvement, and we haven't delivered on those. You know, and here we are having to do the same things some 6 years later.
Fire and Emergency has a fleet of 1,282 fire appliances. This is, again, FENZ's response, which are all fully warranted, certified. Yesterday, the Hamilton aerial appliance was having a scheduled service.
Yep.
When the fire occurred, it was returned to operation swiftly and arrived in Auckland within 2 hours of being called.
Yeah, agreed. And look, you know, this rhetoric's growing old. You know, it's the same rhetoric that we're seeing from the organisation. If we had FAD in the system, there would be a relief appliance in service allowed to be able to cater for that one to come off and get a service so that we're not put in these positions. You know, in 2025 in frontline operations, we shouldn't be having to put a truck back together to respond it. It's unacceptable.
What does that mean for the firefighters on the front line too?
Delayed response. Delayed response. And if we look at a fire doubles in size every 30 seconds.
Really appreciate your time this morning, Josh. Josh Nichols from the Professional Firefighters Union as the Auckland Repay.
Yeah. And look, I just think lastly, what I would like to say is this, is that New Zealanders expect us to come and have our best day on their worst day. And for us to have our best day on their worst day, we need to have the tools and equipment to be effective in their time of need.
Yeah. Josh, really appreciate your time. Thank you.